The battlefield didn't just get more lethal in 2025, it got more complicated, more fragile, and more lonely. Logistics are brittle, medevac is dangerous, the front line is not a solid line anymore, there's plenty of holes in it. And it's mostly small teams that are doing the work that used to be squads and platoons. Technology helps, but also makes movement visible and expensive. So let's talk about what has changed in 2025 for infantry, and mostly the difficulties of being an infantryman at this point. Constant counter-drone posture. Soldiers can't just sit in a trench anymore. They need to keep their heads on a swivel for drones overhead. They have to carry shotguns with them now. They have to put camouflage netting over all their bunkers and even on top of themselves sometimes. Use smoke grenades, even decoys, all of which adds weight and mental load. There's a lot that's going on in the infantry's mind. The stress is real. The buzzing of a drone is now the modern incoming whistle. Camouflage is never enough. Thermal imagers and IR drones mean that even at night or under foliage, you are often visible. So infantry have to carry thermal blankets with them, heat masking ponchos, or dig deeper and deeper holes, or make very, very quick movements and then just stay in a hole for the next couple hours until, the drones lose attention. Digging and camo upkeep is now a daily grind, not a one-time chore that it used to be. Weight creep. In World War II, a rifleman carried about 40 to 50 pounds. In Ukraine, infantry often carries 70 to 100 pounds. Body armor, drone countermeasures, including shotguns, comms gear, power banks, extra batteries for optics and radios, plus the usual ammo, water, food. More kit equals more fatigue, slower movement, and worse survivability when running. And not to mention that because the gray zone is so large in some sectors of the front line now, they have to infill for about 20 kilometers with all that gear. And they can't ride a car. If you ride a car, you get hit by a drone. You have to take the worst paths too. You can't be out in the open. You have to be in the really dense brush where a drone might not be able to find you. It's brutal. And I'm glad I'm not infantry anymore for that reason. Sleep is shredded. Persistent drone and artillery harassment means there's no safe rest. Frontline soldiers often sleep in 20 to 40 minute micro naps, but never deep sleep. And okay, that could make sense if it's a couple day operation, but they're gonna be stuck out there for a while. A lot of times, once they get so deep into the gray zone or so deep into the front line, there's no way for them to actually exfil until a week or two afterwards, which means they are exposed to all of these different threats and sounds that you just can't fall asleep when there's a drone buzzing around you. But it's so frequent, and yeah, that's a big one that's taking a toll on a lot of my friends that are in infantry units right now. Chronic fatigue is going to lower reaction time and morale, and after weeks it feels like you're fighting while drunk. It's not good. We all know complacency kills, but it was a lot easier to get away with it back in the day. You have eyes in the skies now staring and zooming in on you for any hiccup in protocol. Turn on a flashlight, don't turn off location services on your phone, don't have a Faraday bag, don't turn off Face ID, smoke outside, take a piss outside, shit outside. All of this stuff you have to stop, or else you will be met with lethal means. It's so difficult to be infantry now.
You got a bomb strapped to it?
Mines everywhere, minefields, both laid and drone drop, that's the big one. Infantry patrols spend as much time not stepping wrong as they do moving forward. They have to look at the sky, they have to look in front of them, their sectors, what is their job? Their job is usually right in front of them. It's a 2D world for them. Well, if they don't want to die, they also have to look at the ground because of just that crazy amount of mines that are everywhere. Everywhere. IEDs, improvised stuff, unexploded ordnance, unexploded drones, and drone drop pedal mines, which are banned by most countries, but when you're in a war like this, anybody's going to use it. Medical loads. Well, because medevacs are so unreliable, every soldier now has to carry more trauma gear, extra tourniquets, hemostatic agents, chest seals. I remember doing recon at the start of the war. It's a very similar environment to this, where the gray zone was so huge, and there's a lot of times where we patrol in and it was just no action at all. But our medic was carrying not only his medical bag, but also his main pack and his rifle, and he had to march with us. He was like 50 years old. This is not an easy task, but we get it done because we have to. But it's only gotten worse because the gray zone is once again opened up and we didn't have FPVs in 2022. Shorter rotations, longer exposure. Units can't mass and rotate out as easily. It's too visible, so small groups have to sit in exposed positions deep within the front line for longer, without the relief cycles older armies relied on. If you're told you're going on a 5-day rotation, anybody in Ukraine will tell you, you never know how many days it's actually going to be. The front line changes like that, and you're locked down. If you're not able to walk back because you have a casualty, well, you have to wait for an exfil vehicle. And if that exfil vehicle gets hit, or if there's a drone, it's not worth it for that vehicle to get destroyed with the driver than to get you home so you can rest. It is always better to wait, so you can find yourself out there for a month or two. There's no true rear area. Precision strikes and long-range drones means that you're never really out of the fight. Even 20 kilometers back, you're under the threat of Shaheeds, Lancets, or guided missiles. Not to mention that 40 kilometer strands of fiber optics for FPV drones that have a kilo warhead that are meant for infantry and meant for small vehicles, they're common. They're common. Even 20, 30 kilometers back, you'll see netting across most of the MSRs. Unit cohesion fractures faster. When one guy is killed or wounded in a 4-man patrol, that is 25% of your fighting strength gone. Small team operations that both the Russians and the Ukrainians are using right now, they magnify losses. Maps versus reality. The front line on paper is not what soldiers experience. They walk into Russian patrols kilometers behind where the map says that the front is. The maps don't even look like anything you're going to encounter out there. All the buildings are smashed. All the tree lines are burned up. The maps really don't do justice. And plus, a lot of the footage, even if it's like real time, the day before, is from a drone. That's not the perspective you're going to have on the ground. How much different does this look from the sky versus on the ground? Very different. Digging is survival, not optional. Trenches and dugouts must be constantly deepened, camouflaged, and rebuilt after strikes. This manual labor eats up hours every day, in addition to patrolling and resupply. And if you're out there without a hole that you can hide in, with camouflage on top or even cover on top, I mean, you're not going to be able to survive. You're not going to be able to survive the night. You have to have a place to be underground because there's so much stuff that's flying through the air. Not only drones, but shrapnel. Equipment fragility. Because of this high-tech environment, if you don't have thermal optics, for instance, you are vastly outgunned. Civilian-grade drones, radios, and batteries break under mud, the cold, or shrapnel. Infantry are constantly fixing consumer electronics under combat conditions.
Please, God.
Whether that's a generator cable, whether it's a Starlink, trying to figure out why is it not working? Oh, I need to sign in. Stuff like that can get you killed. It's getting really tech oriented. Now, for everything that I've said, it's not all doom and gloom. For Ukraine, I know firsthand how much the command actively participates on the front line and how much they care about keeping everybody safe as long as possible and are able to come back home. A lot of commands really care about their guys and their morale, which is definitely a plus that I've seen the last year. So going on with that, resupply is often done robotically. They're using ground drones to go and deliver the stuff that they would need on the front line, whether it's food, water, ammunition, FPVs, or even as medevac. So there's a way to get these people out without exposing a driver in a pickup truck, which is oftentimes going to be killed or targeted. Anti-drone drones are everywhere. So this is mainly for the fixed-wing Orlons, but those are the ones that are calling in the bigger guided munitions like a FAB or CAB, or even Lancets. Well, there's a lot of drone tech happening right now, not only developed by NATO and the US, but also within Ukraine, that is being tested on the front line, able to intercept these fixed-wing drones and really keep it a little bit safer. Now for small-time FPVs and Mavics, we still have yet to find a really effective way to take those down, especially given that jamming systems are so far behind now because the gray zone is so big in a lot of parts of the front line. They can't really reach it, but nonetheless, there's some work being done there. And I gotta mention, casualties seem to be down. It's very difficult to find any casualty data ever since the beginning of this war, but I would imagine, and from what I'm hearing from friends and seeing in footage, and from everything that I know, casualties are a bit down, especially for infantry. Why? Because the front line doesn't need to be flooded with a company-sized element that just gets smashed. It just needs to have a couple bunkers with a couple small teams inside them. So the casualties are starting to be a little bit more minimized. There are still casualties on both sides regarding infantry as well as the indirect fire and the drone teams, of course. But the gray zone is made a lot safer for these groups, the indirect fire and the support systems to work even further behind. Whereas before, a year and a half ago, we were working on the Chasiv Canal looking at Bakhmut. It was constant suppression by indirect fire. It was risky, and we thought it was risky. Well, the infantry are 2 kilometers ahead of us, dealing with who knows what. So who knows for real, but drones and ground robotics and all sorts of different technologies coming out now where you don't need to fill a trench up with a company. You understand what I'm saying? I hope you do. But again, I can't give you casualty figures. I try to find them. There's no possible way. All we know is that at least 122,000 Russian soldiers have died since the beginning of the war. We have public data that's been posted. We know that for fact. But other than that, we have no clue. So in closing, it's not just that drones are everywhere. It's that drone sites, long-range fires, logistics attacks, medevac risk, comms fragility, and tech dependencies together make the life of a foot soldier far harder than a single headline admits. Infantry used to be able to count on supply and quick medevac. Now they count on timing, luck, a lot of luck, and a small set of systems that sometimes work and sometimes don't. That's the problem. That's why walking the ground is so hard now. So hopefully you guys better understand the Ukrainian front line at this point. I'm not there right now. I haven't been an infantry soldier for the last, 2.5 years. So I'm really basing this off of what I know as an FPV engineer and Maverick pilot from a year ago, as well as what my friends are telling me that are both in infantry roles as well as in rear positions watching this all unfold. So, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned something, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.